This is a short beginner's tutorial on replacing the rear light bulbs on a Volkswagen Polo. You can see in the dash the warning light that indicates that one of the bulbs has blown, and after a quick look around the car I found that my rear right hand running light had stopped working. To access the light cluster, pull down this little flap and you'll find that there's a single plastic screw that needs to be unwound anti-clockwise. You'll probably find that this is quite difficult because the access to the screw is quite limited. Be very careful not to drop the screw into the behind the panel. It'll be difficult to get out. Now once you get the screw out, you'll see that there is what looks like a 10mm bolt head, or that you could also maybe use a screwdriver on. I wouldn't try that because it's quite thin plastic. If you are struggling to get this out, I suggest you use a pair of pliers. Having removed the bolt, then just give the light cluster a bit of a pull towards the rear of the vehicle. Now what's holding it in here, there's another clip on the right hand side and a little plastic peg as well. You may find that you need to just use a small screwdriver or a plastic pry just to get the light cluster to come out. Now having released the clip, we now need to release the wiring. You can actually access the wiring from inside the trunk of the boot, but it's a little bit fiddly. I find it a little easier just to try and get my hand in behind the cluster and undo the clips. Be careful while you're doing this that you don't drop the cluster on the ground. It was a little bit more difficult trying to hold the camera and film and release the cluster at the same time. What you can see on the connector is that there are a couple of little clips top and bottom, and you'll also notice the shape of the connector. There's only one way that it will go into the cluster. Now on the back of the cluster here you can see that clip that I was talking about on the right hand side, and just below it there's a little round peg as well that also locates into the body of the car. To get into the actual bulbs themselves, there are 4 clips on this grey piece of plastic that we'll just need to release. And inside the light cluster we can see that we have 4 bulbs, a reversing light and an indicator bulb, the rear running light and the brake light. I'll put a link in the description to the types of each of these bulbs so you can buy them in advance of taking the cluster apart. Just so happens that the last time I had one of these bulbs fail, I bought a 2-pack of bulbs, so I had a spare handy. The running light is a 5-watt type 501 bulb. You might as well give the lighting cluster recess a little bit of a clean while you have the cluster out. Because the bulb was silvered, I couldn't see if the filament had blown, so I just checked on my meter before putting everything back together. And starting the car up, we see the light is gone.